Hello everyone, Doug King here, doing my current event videos for Chapter 15, which is on post-incident stress. I chose to do this week's current event video on an article out of the East County Magazine. It's dated for November of 2017. This article has to do with a CAL FIRE captain who committed suicide after getting off shift. So this captain worked at Station 20 for CAL FIRE, had completed his morning shift, was going home, and apparently on the way home, or I don't know if he went out of his way, but from after leaving shift, he stopped at a bridge that was approximately 450 feet high, and decided to take his own life. Now this this case in particular brings up an interesting thing about post-incident stress for a couple different reasons. Number one, we have this captain who committed suicide. It doesn't really talk about what kind of led to this in the article, if he was depressed or if it was, could have been from stress. We're learning a lot now of the effects of post-traumatic stress. Some firefighters don't think that that's necessarily a real thing or think that it's something that, it's for weaker people. But these incidents that we go in day on and day out, even if they might not affect you at the time, can be cumulative. So over years and years of seeing these horrible things, we can develop post-traumatic stress. It can lead to things in our lives, either depression or drinking, alcoholism, other things like that. And they're finding that a lot of this can be job related. So we have this suicide of a captain. We don't really know the circumstances, but I think it's pretty safe to say that the job may have contributed to his suicide. The second issue that we have here is members of his own fire department were ones that responded to the call for his suicide. So you have firefighters that have worked with this guy, that have known him for years, that responded to his call and had to deal with his death. So that also was a post-traumatic incident for those guys. The chief decided to bring in a post-traumatic stress debriefing team after the incident for the employees that were on the call. And they also opened it up for the whole fire department, saying that anybody that has depression issues, they should be, they were opening it up for those firefighters to be seen. So this is relevant to my department in a couple ways. First is we've had several firefighters that have committed suicide over the last 20 years or so that I know of. So there was a firefighter that committed suicide about 15 years ago or so, and he had been known to have some depression issues that were getting worse and worse around the station, and he wound up taking his own life. And then about maybe 5 years ago or so, might not have even been that long, we had a retired captain that was only retired for like 2 weeks that wound up being involved in a murder-suicide where he killed his wife and then committed suicide. We don't really know why that happened. Was it related to the job or not? I find it interesting that he had only been retired for 2 weeks. And this is another thing that you see aside from the post-traumatic stress, is you see often these firefighters that they've built much of their identity in their job, and then they retire and they don't really know what to do with themselves after retirement. So suicide among retired firefighters that have built their whole life around the fire service are also prevalent. So this may have been the case with this firefighter here in Akron. He was actually a captain as well. Also, this is relevant because in a bigger city where you're running on a lot of people, you're bound to run on other firefighters or firefighters that you know. So 10 years ago, my lieutenant that had just been my first lieutenant that had just been retired for like 6 months had passed away, and I was on the call when he passed away. So you're bound to run into people that you know from high school, or you know from school, college, friends, and even other firefighters. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm curious to hear what you guys think, and I'll see you next week. Thanks.